Hello, welcome to the Energy Connect studio at ADIPEC 2023. I'm delighted I'm joining in the studio today Peter Parry, Chairman of Global Energy and Natural Resources Factors at Bain Company. Peter, thank you so much for joining me.
It's a pleasure. Good to be here.
Now, I know you've just released your Global Energy and Natural Resources Analysis Report. What are some of the top three issues that came out of the report?
Yeah, this is a report we've now been doing for the last 3 years. And the trend is looking at what the executives are saying and doing, how practical the changes that are underway. At the top of the list is the shift in capital, of course. We see something close to 24%, 25% of capital now being directed towards clean energy, clean tech, clean activities. So that's quite a big shift over the last couple of years. And that trend, of course, looks to be continuing. I think the second element of that is as those companies look to navigate their way through the transition, it's how they tackle some of the people issues, the capacity issues in their own organization. It's busy times for traditional energy and for clean energy. So allocating resources and working on those things. The third part of it is keeping the narrative fresh and keeping the narrative up to date. We've certainly seen companies adjusting how they are describing their path through the transition, getting capital right, getting the people in the right place, and obviously keeping the narrative fresh.
Yeah, very interesting, Peter. And how do the world can increase energy supply, but simultaneously curbing emissions? That seems to be the challenge.
Well, it is, isn't it? I mean, demand is growing. It's as simple as that. The world needs more energy, clean, affordable, and secure energy at that. But here, really, what we're seeing and what our work tells us is that demand will continue to grow for all types of energy. So that means traditional energy plus clean energies, clean electrons, clean molecules, etc. But the challenge here is going to be how to best use what we have today and how we lower the cost of delivering those newer technologies in the future. So it's really getting the balance right. Decarbonizing production, probably at the front end of what people are doing, and decarbonizing end use is that progressive challenge as we go forward.
Yes, and obviously we had ADIPEC where the theme is, decarbonization. As part of that, how important is this sort of public-private partnership, especially in decarbonization, the industrial one, going to be?
Yes, well, the nature of public-private partnerships is that they've been the vehicle for mobilizing and deploying capital at industrial scale. And this is really the inflection point that we need to reach, is industrial scale activity. Here at the ADIPEC conference, we can see many projects, many new technologies being deployed. The question is, how do we get them to that scale? So the history of the energy sector is public-private partnerships, particularly here in the Middle East region, have been the cornerstone of building big pieces of infrastructure, new value chains, and indeed expanding capacity. Applying those same kind of principles to the next phase of decarbonized growth is massively important. But those partnerships will have to be a little bit different in nature because the risk profile is not the same.
No, absolutely not. And, I wonder in your report, one other element is, policy or government involvement.
Yeah.
And obviously that's different regions. But I think to really accelerate, decarbonization or the energy transition, that's going to have to be locked in, or what the executives say?
Well, executives would say, and I would agree with them, I think, it's about de-risking.
Right.
And the extent to which policy is fluid or changeable adds risk to the equation, to the degree that it is understood, or at least the path for the evolution of policy is understood. Then you can factor that into your investment decisions. And of course, in parallel here, investors are looking for a reasonable return to attract the capital in the first place. And policy can play an enormous impact. We've seen the Inflation Reduction Act in North America, in the US. We see some policies in Europe, again, targeting, pulling capital into these new sectors. And so I think policy has an enormous role to play. Now, the one thing I would add, though, is policymakers coming into the equation a little bit faster, a little bit earlier would substantially help.
Yes, absolutely. And challenges that executives face of scaling up the low carbon business? What do you see some of the main challenges they face, which could be policy, but I assume investment is probably one of the big elements?
It's probably the back end of investment. It's the returns, isn't it?
Yeah.
That are challenged there. But I think here again, what we're looking at in most instances are technologies which are still on a fast development curve, fast improvement curve. And really those improvements have to move at a pace which is fast enough to enable returns to be delivered in due course. But what does that mean? It means 3 to 4% a year improvement in the effectiveness or the cost of those key technologies, whether it's carbon capture, sustainable aviation fuel, wind, solar, etc. These are the areas where we need to continue to push ourselves down that curve to get the cost and efficiency even better, and the other things will come.
Absolutely, Peter. And obviously we're just around the corner is COP28 taking place in Dubai at the end of November, December. So let's see what comes out of that, and I'll know what eyes will be on that. So,
indeed. No, I think that having the COP meeting this time, again, following these big industry dialogues, is tremendously useful, because hopefully it unlocks a little bit more of the potential that's on show here.
Absolutely, Peter. Well, I appreciate you coming down to the M Connect studio.
Thanks very much.
Thanks everyone for watching, and I look forward to bringing more studio interviews from the show floor in the coming days.